I love it when this happens. Two reliable sources, Julian Laurent, Fabrizio Romano, conflicting stories. Julian Laurent, bid placed of 80 million euros for Vlahović. Fabrizio Romano, another story. We're gonna break that down. Mason Mount and Declan Rice apparently are set to be going to Arsenal. Some of us love it. I love it. More importantly, Badiashile could be out for 4 months and need surgery. I'm gonna break that down. And finally, Frank Lampard's comments absolutely are disgusting. And the reason I say they're disgusting is because it exemplifies what I've been saying. This man doesn't love Chelsea. This man is here for himself. And if you don't believe me, stay tuned because I will break it down for you. And it will be easy for all of you to see. And at the end of the video, you'll be saying in the comments below, Kavkas, you were right. Let's get in. We're gonna start something different today. I'm gonna go straight to the video because the first story we're gonna talk about is what happened on Alex Goldberg's Byline podcast. If most of you don't know, Alex Goldberg is an individual that has become very influential within the Chelsea community, and the way he has grown has been very nice, very authentic. I really admire the way he's grown his business. But the reality here is he had Julian Laurent on his podcast. They were talking and Julian Laurent dropped some interesting exclusive news that later came out on ESPN. Julian Laurent is a journalist that works for ESPN, and he dropped that Chelsea have already placed a bid for Vlahović. The bid is on the table. This was music to a lot of people's ears, not mine. I don't know much about Vlahović, so I'm going to take a seat back and do some research before I give you guys a final opinion whether I want Dusan Vlahović. And the reality is, it struck a lot of people by surprise because what we've been hearing is Lautaro Martinez, Victor Osimhen, potentially Tammy Abraham, Armando Broja getting a crack, to Ivan Toney. No one's been talking about Dusan Vlahović. So people are running with it. People are like, you know what? Julian Laurent is tier 1. He says his sources, and the way he said it with so much vim and so much confidence, people took it at face value. Later that evening, Fabrizio Romano comes out and Fabrizio Romano reiterates that no, there's been no bids. Both sides, both Juventus and Chelsea, have actively rejected that this is true. They said under no circumstances have there been any bids placed. But he also reiterated that Dusan Vlahović is on the short list that the analytics team at Chelsea have acquired. And more importantly, they are looking at him in good detail. So what does this tell you, peeps? This tells you that somebody is telling a porky or somebody is ill-informed. And the reality here is, I don't think Chelsea and Juventus want either one of their business out for everyone to hear. I don't think Chelsea want to let everyone know that, you know what, we have already placed a bid for Dusan Vlahović. Because if Vlahović rejects Chelsea, then all of a sudden it's embarrassing. I think they've learned from the Rafinha situations. I think they've learned from the other situations like Richarlison, Gabi Jesus, where they went in too late. And then all of a sudden there's a media backlash and some euphoria where people banter them. And in my case, this is the key one. I think Juventus most probably don't want their business out there. They don't want to be viewed as a selling club. So the reality is, I believe Julian Laurent. I believe there has been a bid placed. And this is my gut instinct because Julian Laurent has a lot of credibility. This man would not ruin his credibility by going on a podcast and just running his mouth. There was no need. No one pressured him into dropping the name Dusan Vlahović. Nobody. But these are my opinions, and yeah, now let's move on to the next story. But before we move on to that next story, I need you guys, Braduki, to do me a massive favor. I know you guys enjoyed the video so far, you made it this far, so do me a favor and hit that like button, because if you've made it this far, you've enjoyed it, alright? It's the bare minimum you can do. If you guys want to comment below or follow me in the pinned comment below on Instagram and send me some questions, it's a great way of building the system. Some of you started putting super thanks, by the way. Thank you very much, that's much appreciated. Donations to the channel are great, but the way you can help me is by subscribing. Okay, the subscriptions are the most important thing. Subscribe and then YouTube continues to push my channel. Now, let's move on with the remainder of the story. Alright, Bradoki, the next story is a very interesting one because I wake up this morning and I see David Ornstein, Mr. Ornstein, comes out with another article. Comes out with a little bit of a cheeky article. It made Arsenal fans get a little bit excited, it made Chelsea fans get a little bit excited, and it broke a Liverpool Hearts fans. And the reality here is, it looks like Declan Rice is going to be going to Arsenal for £90 million, and that's what's being reported by Ornstein. But his best friend, his bratucha, his brethren, his brother from another mother, his amigo, his whatever you want to call primo, what is going to be going with him? It looks like Mason Mount is set to be going to Arsenal. Arsenal are actively trying to look for creativity, and their solution is Mason Mount. And the reality here is, what are Arsenal smoking? In the words of Stephen A, stay off the weed. Stay off the weed. Because if you're looking for creativity, Mason Mount is not the solution, people. You've got Martin Odegaard in your side, right? And you're trying to go and acquire Mason Mount to add to the creativity. Mason Mount is a shooter from midfield. And the reality is, to call him a midfielder these days is criminal. He's been playing in his front three for a majority of his career. He is a forward three player. He's an inside forward. He's the old school number 10 shadow striker. That's the way he plays. Like, you can't call him an 8. He hasn't played in an 8 consistently for years. And I'm telling you now, if Arsenal want to go into next season with Declan Rice, Mason Mount and Martin Odegaard, good luck to them. I'm telling you right now, good luck to them. And you know what? While you're at it, put Cancelo on the right-hand side and put Zinchenko. We're going to see how your midfield copes with the fullbacks tucking in, and all of a sudden, you've got 2 fullbacks that can't defend, 2 centre midfielders that don't want to defend, and more importantly, 1 centre midfielder that doesn't have the discipline to actually be in the position that he's allocated for. The reality is, this is what I think is going on. I think Chelsea burnt bridges when it comes to Mason Mount. I think the whole offering of the 1-year contract was disrespectful, as I said from the outset. I also think Declan Rice is helping his friend out, because I would do the same thing in his position. Look, if I grew up with my boy and all of a sudden he's looking for a new contract, I'm looking for a new contract, I want to play with him, he wants to play with me at a club like Arsenal, I'm saying 2 for 1. You buy both of us, here are the terms, you're signing both of us, these are the conditions we're coming on. Because the reality is, Arsenal are desperate. Arsenal are desperate for Declan Rice. I don't understand it. Saicedo's in the market, Lavia's in the market. Why don't you look at them? Maybe even an Ugarte at Sporting, who looked phenomenal yesterday when I watched it, in the market. But they are putting all their eggs in the Declan Rice basket. Some people are calling him the English Yaya Toure. I don't see it. The reality is, it looks like Mason Mount and Declan Rice are going to be going to Arsenal. Exciting times ahead if you're an Arsenal fan. Exciting times ahead if you're a Chelsea fan, if you don't want Mason Mount to stay. Frank Lampard's comments yesterday after the game were very interesting, because this is where I get objective bias, right? Where I get reassurance that everything I say on this platform is actually 9 out of 10 times true. Everything I say is non-agenda based. When Frank Lampard came back, a lot of you said to me, Alex, he's coming back to defend the badge. He's coming back to defend the honour of the club. No other man would take this role. Frank Lampard is the hero. Frank Lampard is not only the player that wanted to love us, he's the manager that loves us. Stop being negative about Frank. And I said to you guys, Frank is only coming back for one, to rebuild his own reputation. Because the reality is, Frank sniffed around and goes, oh, there's a chance for me to get back into the Chelsea job after the shit I dropped at Everton. This is a good chance for me to rebuild my career and get another job. And the reality is, he shit the bed here as well. And yesterday, he reaffirmed it with his comments after the game about Carney Chukwuemeka. What is Frank Lampard's remit? His remit is to put us in a good place to develop players for next year. The players that Mauricio Pochettino will potentially want to look at. Number one, he picked a disgusting lineup that had around about 7 players that potentially wouldn't be here next year. And more importantly, Carney Chukwuemeka, after the game, he said, I can't just give him minutes. Sometimes I have to look at the job that I'm doing. Look at my job requirements. Basically, he's insinuating, I need to do what's best for me. Carney Chukwuemeka, I'm sorry, mate, but I'm going to try get results because it looks better on me. And it's always that about with Frank Lampard. It's always him. It's the same way when Didier Drogba needed the penalty to become the top goal scorer. Then he took the ball against Wigan on the final day of the season and smashed it in himself. Didn't give it to Didier Drogba. Later on, when the game was secured and all the glory was with Frank, Frank said, you know what, Didier, take this one. Frank Lampard always cares about himself. And you know what? Most people do. But the reality is, most people don't try to act like the martyr. And in this case, Frank came back, tried to act like a martyr, in my opinion, allegedly. And more importantly, he tried to deny it. But we caught him red-handed. Those comments about Chukwuemeka were basically highlighting it. One final piece of news before we wrap up the video, and Benoit Badiashile is out for 4 months apparently and will require surgery. So there was a little video that went around Chelsea TV in training ground where Benoit Badiashile basically stretched a little bit too hard to get on the end of a cross, and when he missed it up, you could see him pull up. Straight away, it looked like something's weird. The clip on Chelsea TV cuts it out, and then they move on with the rest of the video. But you know the way forensic Twitter is these days, they found everything, they spotted the moment, everything was broken down and analyzed, because some people have too much time on their hands, so they watch the training sessions that Chelsea put up on YouTube 50 times, analyze every sheet, analyze every little screen, and then they build up an agenda. But what are we gonna take away? Nazir Cancella said he's out for 4 months, he needs surgery. And the reality is, this is bad news for Benoit Badiashile, because Badiashile is injury prone. We signed a player that faced injuries in the past. He's been fit, and now he's picked up a big injury right before a manager comes in that will want to implement his own system, that will want to have his defenders playing a particular way. Benoit Badiashile won't be there for pre-season, so when he comes back, he's playing catch-up. And it also puts a spanner in our summer, because now it'll be Levi Colwill, Thiago Silva and Fofana. No problem. But the cover, who is it? Who's the cover for Levi Colwill, who is injury prone? Who's the cover for Wesley Fofana, who is injury prone? Are we going to go with Chalobah, keep him around? Are we going to go with Kalidou Koulibaly, keep him around? I don't know, but this is really bad news. I don't like it. And I have high hopes for Benoit Badiashile next year. I don't know about you guys, but in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on the 4 stories. It's been an insightful video. I'm going now home to my mum's house. My mum's birthday today, and she's gonna make delicious food, hopefully some birthday cake, and it's gonna be a good time. Peace out, I'm out, have a lovely day.